I wanna go.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K,
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Marsh!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Just a note, if you're watching this, we did pre-record this early in the afternoon at around 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's why we don't have the chat room today. We will miss your questions. It's our favorite part of the podcast, as I think Pierre will agree, but we'll get back to that on Thursday for sure. But Pierre, let's get right into it. Looking back at last night, game one, Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers. Panthers take it 5-2. And it just looked like they didn't miss a beat. And I was just asking you before we came on, your take on teams that are coming in on little rest versus ones that had more rest. And does the momentum sometimes take over? I think we saw a lot of that last night. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, we definitely did, Jimmy. I agree. Battle-tested Florida versus rested team from Carolina that clearly they didn't have a tough matchup with New Jersey. I don't know what happened to Washington, but Washington never had their A game, Jimmy. They never did. Yep. So, this other team, talking about Florida, played Tampa, which is their big rival. So they're gunned up and ready. Then they fall behind 2-0 to Toronto. They got to win at home 2 games. So that's battle testing and mental toughness. They win 3 in a row. Then they go to Toronto, and they go back home and they get whooped by Toronto, and then they got to show up for a game 7 and they whoop Toronto. So 2 days later, they're battle tested. They're ready to go into Carolina. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I do these exercises all the time. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, there are a couple things about last night. One, Bobrovsky was better than Anderson. I think everybody would agree that. So that's number one. Number two, through the previous 2 series, the Carolina Hurricanes had given up 2 power play goals against. 2. Last night, in game 1 of their series with Florida, who I don't think even had an A game, they gave up 2 in 1 game.
Yep.
In the previous 2 series, they only given up 2. In game 1 of the 3rd series, they gave up 2. So that's part of the issue. But here's the one that I think really stands out. So I always do this for effect because I think it's important. Jimmy, go to Puckpedia.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to go to okay, so go to the depth chart of the Florida Panthers first. I will tell you, but I want you to do it first.
We don't script this stuff, Pierre, but it's hilarious because this is part of what I want to bring up after. But go ahead.
So go to the center ice. Go look. Can you read me the names of the 4 center icemen for the Florida Panthers, please?
Sure. So we've got up the Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, Anton Lundell, and Thomas Nosek.
Okay, so now let's go to the Carolina Hurricanes center ice position, please.
That we can do. Okay. Aho. Kokniemi. Wait a minute. I'm gonna just pull up the forward lines straight up where they're.
Just go to their depth. Just go to the depth chart. It's on the far right side.
Yep. Okay.
Kokniemi, he'll be in the 4 hole. Kokniemi, but go ahead.
Yep. So we got Aho, Roslovic, Stahl, and Kokniemi.
Okay. So I rest my case, counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to ask you to do one more thing just for artistic impression because I do get extra points for that. Go to the NHL summary of last night's game.
Mm-hmm.
So go to NHL.com.
Yep, I'm here. Event summary. Yep.
Okay. Go to the summary. It's on the right side. Go look at face-offs percentage, please.
Yes.
Game 1 on the road.
Yep.
For Florida. What are the percentages?
You want me to list the different players? Or you want me to just list the
just the team percentages.
Okay, so team total and faceoffs. Florida actually lost. They were 28-42 at 40%.
And what were the other guys? 60, right?
Yes, 60 and 42 and 28.
So what does that tell you?
That the Panthers are making better use of their faceoffs, even though they're not winning as many.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. Here's what it would tell me. The Panthers don't need to win faceoffs. They actually have better players than Carolina does.
So they're strategically approaching their faceoffs better because they have the players to do it. I like that. Totally agree with that. I love too what you asked me about the depth. Okay, because I look at that fourth line, and you were the one who pointed it out in the Toronto series for Florida. Went Maurice put it together, and they've been great since. And I was just kind of going back and forth with Bruins fans, and my argument was that they need to look at the Florida Panthers right now. And ironically, they had two of those players there on that fourth line, and look at the way they utilize those players on that fourth line. Look at the guys that are there and how they're used versus maybe how they were used when they were in Boston.
So I know the sheet.
Why is that?
I know the sheets in front of you.
Yep.
I don't have any notes in front of me. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I know what the time on ice is. Not one of those players played more than 11 minutes last night. Go look at it.
Yep, you're correct.
Not one of those three guys. So do you think they were the most efficient guys for less than 11 minutes per game?
Yes.
And there were games in the Toronto series where two of those three players, Greer and Gadjevich, played less than 6 minutes. They scored as a line. They only played game 3, game 4, game 5, game 6, and game 7. Okay.
Yep.
As a line, they had more points than Marner, Matthews, and Nyes.
That's amazing.
And look at their ice time.
I know. It's unreal.
I haven't read it anywhere. I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm just telling you, this is part of what you do when you want to break. Don't quote what everybody else is writing and saying.
Yep.
Go look for yourself. Why did this happen?
Yep.
How did this happen?
Yep. I mean, we didn't even have our chat today, Pierre, and this was one of the things I was going to bring up to you is just their utilization of their depth players. To me, is one of the biggest differences between the Florida Panthers and the other team.
Any other team.
It's just, and I want to ask you, Pierre. So, when you break that down, first of all, I guess how much of that goes to scouting to identify the right guys that can fit in with the way the coaches want to use them, and then how much goes to it with the coaches when it comes time to execute how to utilize that.
A combo of both, and I'm so glad the way you presented that because it's so good, Jimmy. It's exactly the way it should work in an office. Nobody gets territorial. The scout says, hey, coach, look at Jonah Gadjevich is probably going to only be a 6 to 8 minute a game player for you. But I'm telling you, if you coach him the right way, he's going to help you. Hey, coach, AJ Greer's a tough kid. He comes from the school of hard knocks. You know, he's done a little bit of college. He's done a little bit of junior. He's done a lot of American League, and he's been kicked around a lot. AJ Greer's got a lot to give you, okay? And Tomáš Nosek, you look at all the different stops Tomáš Nosek has had in his career, but coaches always trust him. Why is he always on the ice at the end of a game? Why is he always on the ice probably for, if not the top of the power penalty kill, the second penalty kill? Why does he take a lot of big faceoffs in the last 50 seconds of a game or the last minute and a half of a game? Why does that happen? But he's only playing 12 to 14 minutes and maybe a little less sometimes. Why does that happen? Because these guys get it. Yep. They're not territorial. So Paul Fenton's not territorial in Florida. Do you know what I mean? Billy Zito's a GM, but he's not territorial. Yep. Everything has to go by his desk, but he's not territorial. If you look at the best team, and they're the best team right now, doesn't mean they're going to win, but they're not territorial. They've done an amazing job incorporating it. Rick Dudley's not territorial. Just give Rick Dudley his per diem and a plane ticket, and he's off to the races. He'll get you all day long.
I love that, and I am a big fan.
I see Rick in rinks all the time, and he doesn't change.
Yep.
You know, he's well into his 70s, and all he wants to do is watch hockey and give him care. And he's picking character guys because that's what he was. That's what he was.
And this is when those guys matter. Pierre, how much, just take the listeners and viewers a little bit behind the scout's eye, so to speak. How important is it when we're talking about identifying these specific types of players, to network and talk to different guys around the rink, whether it's, players, coaches that had coached them, scouts that have watched them a lot. You got a guy, maybe, I'm Pierre McGuire, scouts the Northeast, right? How many times are you going to call a couple of your buddies that are scout Pacific and scouting that division? Because, Noshik was once in Vegas. How important is it to network in terms of a research method like that?
Very important. It takes years, not a couple. It takes years to build up that kind of a network. It takes years. But here's the one part that gets totally missed. The best people to talk to about a player's character, the trainers.
Oh.
The trainers know more than anybody because they see whether the guy's serious about the way he lives. They have to do the weigh-ins more times than not, so they're putting the numbers on the wall about the weigh-ins. They see whether the guy's loyal to his rehabilitation or not. They'll see whether the guy's serious because of how he treats his teammates and the trainers in the training room, because that's a sacred place. The training room is a sacred place, just like the dressing room is a sacred place. They'll see whether he's the first guy in the room for treatment or the last guy in the room for treatment. The trainers are the ones that know more than anybody. Now, it's not easy to cultivate trainers as an asset.
I was just going to ask you about that.
But if you can, they're the ones that have the goods on everybody. I won't tell you how many times because it's not fair, or the guys, but over the course of all my time, whether I was broadcasting, scouting, or coaching, back in the day, how many trainers that I became friendly with. And it's not because I wanted intel from them. I respected what they did in their job.
Yeah. They're hard workers.
They're hard, industrious workers.
It's very much like the type of players that we're talking about. They're not getting the recognition. They're not getting the spotlight, but they're integral to the success of the team.
You, sir, are correct. You, sir, are correct.
And I wonder, Pierre, just one more question. I imagine, was it harder when you were working in coaching or management to cultivate those relationships versus when you're in broadcasting? Because there's more of a privacy thing. You want to keep information within your team away from opponents. Whereas when you're broadcasting, you're kind of running these guys into the hall. You can have more of a casual conversation. They know you're not working for a certain team. Was it harder to do it when you're with the teams?
Not in those days, and I'll tell you why. Here was the difference. Because we usually went to the same restaurants because everybody had per diems back then. We usually went to the same watering holes because everybody had per diems. You stayed overnight in most of the cities because we didn't fly charters. We flew commercial the next day. They would always get to your city maybe 2 days early rather than 1 day early. You'd get to meet guys. I'd be in my office pretty late. They'd be unpacking their bags. I'd be like, come on over and, watch the late game from the Pacific Coast and have a drink with me, have a beer with me, or have a slice of pizza or whatever it is. And so you got to know a lot of guys. Now it's changed a little bit. I'll cede you that because of the way it is. But how you treat people in the league is how you hope that they'll treat you back.
Yep. And it pays off.
I always try, even the new guys, like Donnie Del Negro, one of the nicest things that ever happened to me, I got a call from 2 years ago. I got a call from Donnie Del Negro probably in February. And he said, "Hey, Pierre, I got a favor to ask." And I was like, "Okay, no problem. I was figuring he might want to buy a car for my family or something. I didn't know." And he said, "I'm being inducted into the Trainers Hall of Fame. And they've asked for a presenter on my behalf. And I was wondering if you would do it." I'm like, "Are you sure you want me?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "The way you treated me," and especially back in the day, Hartford, Boston was nasty.
Oh, yeah.
I never held him accountable for how nasty it was. He was such a pro, and I watch him interact with the players on the bench. So when I had the honor of doing his induction, and they did it in Scottsdale, Arizona that year, it was pretty cool. I flew out there, I did it, and I met his whole family, his daughter, his wife, his brother, all the people that had worked with him over time. That means more to you than anything to be asked to do something like that.
Yep.
Then I started to think about it. I went out for a run the next day, which early in the morning in Arizona was probably smart because a couple hours. I'm not sure I'd be on the show with you right now, Jimmy.
I hear you on that.
I remember being out going on the run. I was thinking, what a career Donnie had! Like amazing
Yeah.
career.
Good
You
stuff.
know? So it was awesome. It was great.
I was lucky to get to know him too. He's a great man. But listen, so that was our take on game one. And I know we sidetracked a bit there, but I enjoyed that conversation a lot because that's been something I've been thinking about since that game ended last night. It's just the importance of those fourth lines. I'm going to go look at game one of the Oilers and Dallas Stars in Dallas tonight. And join us right for NHL.com is our good friend Nick Cotsonika joining us. Nick, how are you,
Cotsonika. Come on.
Good to be here, boys.
Tell
How
them,
you doing?
Tell them it's Cotsonika.
How's it going there? Yes.
It's going great. The Oilers have just wrapped up their morning skate. We've got two really good teams here. You got the Oilers 3 times in 4 years in the conference final. The Dallas Stars 3 years in a row. You got McDavid and Draisaitl and Rantanen. It's 3 of the top 6 players and points per game in the playoffs in NHL history. So I think we got a lot of great storylines heading into this series.
Who's a better goalie, Stuart Skinner or Jake Ottinger?
Oh, that's easy. It's Jake Ottinger. And now Skinner, in his defense, right, coming off 2 shutouts. So he's hot, and he played well in this series last year. You look at Game 6 last year, Dallas outplayed Edmonton by a large margin, and Stuart Skinner came up big. So, we'll see. But in this playoffs, I mean, Jake Ottinger's been outstanding. And he seems to get better as series go on. So if he can keep that up, I do think Dallas has the edge in goal.
I watched Jim Neal's press conference yesterday, and I like what he said about his team, and I think the same could be said for the Oilers as well, is that they're hardened, and they've got a ton of experience to lean on right now. And, we always talk about how teams have to lose to finally get to the top. Which team do you look at right now that benefits from their experience more, the Stars or the Oilers?
Well, they're both in similar situations, right? They've both had a lot of pain. I mean, you look at Edmonton last year, falling behind 3-0 to the Florida Panthers, fighting all their way back and losing in Game 7. I mean, we saw behind the scenes how much that hurt the Oilers. And, I think they're on a mission, right? Like they're on a mission to get back there. They could end up playing the same team, the Florida Panthers, and they're going to want revenge. You look at Dallas. Other than Pat Quinn, no coach has coached more games won more games in the playoffs without winning the cup than Peter DeBoer. You've got Jamie Benn, you've got Matt Duchene, who've never won the cup, played a ton of hockey. Tyler Seguin hasn't won it since he was a kid in Boston, right? There's a lot of pent up desire to win the Stanley Cup in that Dallas room. And it's been 3 straight years, right? And they made the final and go back to 2020 and didn't win. So, it's kind of both teams in that boat. Who has the edge there? I mean, I don't know. I think both badly want this, felt they've paid their dues. They've gone through a lot of pain. And that's partly what's going to make this like a tremendous series to me.
Yeah.
Nick, who's more important, Miro Heiskanen or Matthias Ekholm?
Well, I'm a huge Ekholm fan, right? And I think he's a key part to the Edmonton Oilers. But Heiskanen, to me, is one of the best defensemen in the NHL. What's been great for Dallas, the blessing in disguise, is that while Heiskanen was injured, Thomas Harley really, seized a greater role. He raised his level of play. He's been outstanding. He's 1 point behind Bouchard, for the defense scoring lead in the playoffs, right? He's been tremendous. So now Heiskanen comes back. He looked like himself in Game 6, played around 24 minutes. So now if he can play his role, right, and go back to the top power play, now suddenly Thomas Harley has less on his plate. Doesn't have to play as many minutes, play second power play. That just makes Dallas stronger in two ways. So, I love Ekholm, but I think I have so much respect for Heiskanen. And if he can be himself, that makes Dallas an even better team.
Jimmy, 1 second. I just want to run this by Nick because he did such a good job the entire year. I read all his stuff. I think, Nick, you do really good work. And Nick knows we've known each other a long time. I only think there's one player that benefited from playing in the Four Nations, and I think it was Thomas Harley.
100%. And thanks for that, Pierre. Much appreciated. But, he came in as an emergency replacement, right? He's going to go to Cabo with Wyatt Johnston and sit in the sun and drink cold drinks. And he needed some rest, right? Because he'd been playing, more minutes than usual after Miro got hurt. So now suddenly you jump into not just the Four Nations, but U.S. Canada, right? Which was two of the, some of the greatest games you're going to see. And I do think, he realized I can play with these guys, right? Like I can do this. And when you come back, if you look at his numbers, I think the first 16 games back put up tremendous numbers because suddenly the NHL is slower, right? The game slows down. And so you not only have more confidence, but when you've played at that pace and intensity, and you come back to regular NHL hockey, it doesn't seem as fast, right? So I think he took a huge leap, and now it's showing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like you played the Colorado Avalanche, you played the Winnipeg Jets. He's made some big plays at big moments, including the overtime winner last time we saw the Stars on the ice.
Yep, agreed.
You referenced Tyler Seguin there, and he hasn't won the Cup since he was a young rookie with the Boston Bruins there. When we look at the trajectory of his career, I mean, he was second overall pick, predicted to be a superstar, and he had superstar numbers for a while. But how impressed are you with the way that he has adjusted his game and reinvented himself for the betterment of the team?
Yeah, and he's really matured, right? He's a father now, right? Like, so this kid that we saw in Boston, we'll say he was a fun-loving kid. That's how we'll put it. Right? And, now he's a father and a veteran. And, it's funny, I've had a couple conversations with him over these playoffs talking about that, right? And also just the different mindset now. Like he enjoys every moment. Like when you're young, everything's exciting and you got lots of energy, and you win the cup, you go back to the final, you think it's always going to be that way. Then the middle of your career, you have some adversity, and then you have an injury, and you have to fight your way back. And so now he's in this mode where he just wants to win and he wants to enjoy every moment, right? Just really enjoy every moment. And, he scored a couple goals. I think they could use some more offense from him. I think he would tell you that. But he also has had a lot of chances. Like you look at last game, some of the guys who've struggled to score for Dallas had a lot of chances. So I think they feel they're close to breaking out. But he's willing to play any role, do whatever he can. And he's really been a good influence on that Dallas dressing room.
When the series, I shouldn't say the series, Nick, when the season started, did you ever think Corey Perry would be on the first line for the Edmonton Oilers?
No, and it's funny, Chris Knobloch was just talking about that, right? I mean, he played a fourth line role, didn't get much power play time, and I think he still scored 19 goals, like in the regular season, right? But that's the beauty of Corey Perry, is he can play on your fourth line, be nasty, just a pain to play against, or he can play with elite players like a McDavid or a Draisaitl, right? This is a guy who won the Hart Trophy, right? So, and we've seen over all these playoff runs, talk about a guy who's been through some heartbreak, right? And lots of different teams. And he's another guy too, right? Like who is loving every minute of it, just wants to win, wants to get back, to winning a Stanley Cup, which he hasn't done since early in his career. So he's a valuable veteran. Kind of guy that I'm not surprised at all, honestly, that he can do that in the playoffs, especially when it gets hard. Like he's a guy who's built for hard hockey.
Hey, Jimmy, he's an eye test guy. He ain't the numbers guy. He's an eye test guy.
Yep, I'm with you.
That's for sure.
Hey, what have you thought? I don't know how much you've got to see of him since he came back from the injury, but just for our Boston viewers here, and I'm just curious because I got to cover him a bit, Trent Frederick and how he's fit into the lineup there. Since he got healthy.
Well, I've covered Dallas the first two rounds, so I really haven't watched him. But that's another example of the depth that Edmonton has added, right? And also that depth slots people differently. It just makes them a better team, right? So, I don't have a detailed view of him, but the the macro view is that's partly, both teams here feel they're better than they were a year ago, right? Dallas changed their depth and added a superstar in Rantanen, and then Edmonton, I think, changed their depth and is even deeper than they were last year, right? So, and he's a big part of that.
I love what you just said. That's such a good question, Jimmy, because I don't think enough people really pay attention to those guys.
Yeah,
I just thought
before Nick came.
I think people forget that even Trent Frederick was traded to Edmonton. So let me ask you about two guys that aren't there either right now, Dylan Holloway and Broberg. You know that side of the world probably as well or better than anybody. How much are they missing those two guys?
Well, I would say they were missing them a lot more early in the season, right? So you change general managers. Stan Bowman comes in, offer sheet in August, right? Like that's a pretty big blow, right? And they had to adjust. And now suddenly you have, one of the great stories in hockey, right? You have John Klingberg on that defense, right? Coming off the hip. You have Jake Wallman, right? So you've added, and then you talk about Frederick, right? So you've added some pieces to make up for that, on the back end and up front. So I think it was a much bigger issue early in the season, and the Oilers have found a way to address those absences. And that's good work by Stan Bowman.
Hey, Jimmy, before you go up, because you brought up Jake Wallman, and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that none of us know. Maybe Nick knows from Detroit. But Nick, just to divert from this for 1 second. Nobody knows the Red Wings more than you. I'm telling you. Maybe Ken Daniels or Mickey, but this guy knows them as well or better than anybody, Jimmy. I'm just telling you. Nick, what the heck's going on there?
Well, all you have to do is see how Steve Yzerman answers the question publicly, which is he won't answer it. There was stuff going on behind the scenes with Jake Wallman in Detroit. The specifics I can't speak to, but clearly there was some conflict behind the scenes, and that's why he got moved. And, on the surface, it's not a good look for Detroit, right? Like they moved him. I think he would have looked good in Detroit and helped them. But obviously Steve Yzerman knows that, and he moved him for a reason that he won't get into. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah. Quickly, I want one more thing on Detroit. You look ahead to this offseason, and in terms of his plan and where he wants to be and finally getting back to the playoffs, what type of players is that team lacking right now that they need to target in the market?
Difference makers, right? You look at Detroit and try to keep the long story short. I mean, this is a team that made the playoffs 25 straight years, and we traded a lot of futures during that time. And then even since then, when they bottomed out, they never got lucky in the lottery. So they've never drafted in the top three, right? So they didn't get, a Matthews. They didn't get an Eichel. The year Cale Makar fell to 4, they didn't get him, right? Like, so, and they've missed in the draft. They should have Quinn Hughes instead of Philip Zanita, right, that year. So their biggest issue,
go watch the draft coverage of that draft.
Oh yeah,
I let them have it for that one.
Yeah, like we could go on and on about and pick it apart. That's to me a big example, but their problem is that they've got some really good young players. Your Lucas Raymond, your Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson. They've got some kids coming that they hope will be stars, and they need some of those guys to surprise on the upside and be even better than they think. Right. But their big problem is like they need superstars. They need difference makers. So it's easy to say go out and sign a Mitch Marner. I'm sure they're interested, but so are a whole bunch of other teams. Right. So that to me is Steve's big challenge: is where are you going to find difference makers, those top end talents? And if you get them, now suddenly, like let's say you could magically produce a number 1 center. I don't know how you're going to do that, but if you do, now Dylan Larkin's your number 2. Now you're a better team, right? I love Dylan Larkin, love him, but like I would like him as my number 2, not my number 1, right? So I think that's his problem, and it's not going to be easy to solve.
I hear you. Nick, I know you're busy.
No, don't hang up on me. I got one more question.
All right, go for one more.
So Sebastian Casa, we know about in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised that Trey Augustine didn't leave Michigan State?
No. They've got a really good program there, really good coaching. Goalies take time, right? So I'm sure he talked to the Red Wings a bit. Look at Kosa's, still not in the NHL, right? So he needs to develop. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm have intimate knowledge of that decision, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, right? Like you look at a Kale, and this totally apples and oranges because defenseman the goalie, but you look at a Kale McCarr, right? Like he spent an extra year in college, right? Did him
Trust me, I'm
good.
close to that. I'm close to that one. I know what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. So it depends on the player, depends on the path of the league. I think Detroit tends to let guys over ripen, right? So if that's best for him and his development, then good on him, right? That's a great program, was great this year. So we'll see. I mean, but that's like Detroit right now, right? They've got some kids coming. They need those guys. They need some of them to be superstars, right? And so, and some of them are still far away.
So I don't want to put him on the spot, Jimmy, but I have to because I know Nick a long time. Playoff team or non-playoff team, Detroit next year?
Well, I mean, it's hard to answer that question without seeing what they do in the offseason, but I'm going to say none. As we sit today, unless they do something big this summer, look at the rest of the division, right? Montreal passed them. Ottawa passed them. Buffalo, I still don't know what's going on in Buffalo, but like Buffalo's got what, 2 number 1 picks on defense and a number 4 pick on defense, right? Like it's tough, man. And like, some of these teams in front of them in the Atlantic Division aren't going anywhere. Is Florida going anywhere? Tampa going anywhere?
No.
Toronto might make some changes, but Toronto's going to be a playoff team. So I just, they're in a tough spot. And, maybe like if they make some bold moves this summer, I might change my opinion, but you're asking me today.
All right. Sounds
That's
good.
That's why you're here. He's so good at this. I love it, Nick.
Thanks, Pierre.
Taking the time,
You should be my agent, buddy. Yeah, thank you for having me.
I would do it with pleasure, and I wouldn't charge you the same rates as a lot of the other guys do. I tell you that right now, because I knew I'd get instantaneous work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good stuff. All right, have a good one. Enjoy the series here. He does a great job for NHL.
Oh my gosh, Jimmy!
He really.
So
does.
All these people have insiders like working on. He's a real insider.
Yep. And you know what I like about him too? He's working for the league, right? But he tells it like it is.
He's a real insider.
He's straight. He'll shoot with you, and he'll give his opinion, and that's that. And he'll back it up. He's not trying to sugarcoat anything, and that's what I like about him. Because that could be hard to do when you're in his position.
What's that?
That can be hard to do when you're in his position, and I respect.
But he's a really good wordsmith. He's a really good writer. He's affable. He's amazingly affable.
Yeah.
I think he's very professional.
Yeah.
Like amazingly professional. Big fan. And like, again, I think the first time I met him would have been mid-90s.
Right.
So almost 30 years.
Yeah.
He's good at his job. He's very good.
Pierre, how tied in he is with the Red Wings there. And that's why you asked him.
That's why I'm asking, because I'm curious.
But did he hold back? No. He told it like it was.
The only one I think he held back a little was on Wallman, and I think that's because there's got to be something else going on there that none of us know. But you don't think Wallman played at Providence? You don't think I watched him a lot? You don't think he could have helped Detroit this year?
Totally could. He totally could.
Yeah.
There's something fishy that happened, and we may never know. Who knows? But great thanks to him for joining us there.
Nick was great, and good job by you for getting him. That was great. That was really good.
I want to say too quickly, and we'll just get right back to Game 1, Edmonton, Dallas, in a second to close out the show. But when he was, talking about the division there, Pierre, right? He's kind of projecting where each team goes. He didn't mention that team I cover a lot, the Boston
Bruins.
And I'm thinking, he says he doesn't mention them, and he said currently, as we sit, I don't see the Red Wings making the playoffs. I'm with him on that as we stand. Now that could change if Stevie Y, like he said, goes out and hits a home run in free agency on the trade market. But I look at them right now, and Pierre, I don't know if I'm crazy to say this, and who would have thought you'd say this a few years back? Could Detroit and Boston be the non-playoff teams in that division next year?
They could, because
I
don't know where Columbus is going to be in this. Now, I know they're in a different division. I get it.
Right.
But let's just look at who's going to be in the top 3 in the Atlantic. Florida, probably.
Yep.
Tampa. Maybe.
Toronto.
Montreal. Maybe. Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Very good chance.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go to the wild card position.
Yep.
And
We got Buffalo and Ottawa.
well, what about you don't think Philly's going to be better with Tocchet there?
Really?
You don't think Columbus are going to be better?
I think Columbus could challenge for top 3 spots.
So I think Columbus will be better. I think if New Jersey's healthy, they're going to be better.
Yep.
You don't think Mike Sullivan makes the Rangers better?
Exactly.
So right now, I've already talked about 3 teams that aren't playoff teams: Philly, Rangers, and Columbus that didn't make it.
Yep.
And they should all be better.
What about
I don't have to wait for free agency.
Yep.
They should all be better.
Exactly. The Caps could be better.
Yeah, they're already in, though. I already got them.
They're already in, right? So
Pittsburgh's not,
Pittsburgh's not making it.
Pittsburgh's not making it. You know that.
Yeah.
What about Carolina? We didn't talk about Carolina.
Yeah.
They're not going to be bad.
Detroit and Boston have big off seasons ahead.
Detroit and Boston have to hit home runs. And you know who else needs to? And I know Mike Sullivan's a really good coach. I'm telling you he is.
Yep.
But if he has to take the roster the way it is now, into the season, I don't care how good a coach he is. I've had the privilege of coaching teams that are going like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good a coach you are.
Yeah. This is a big off season for Chris Drury.
Chris Drury has to have a huge off season. And you know what's not helping him? You're going to be mad at me. You're going to be mad at me for saying this, but I'm telling the truth here on this show.
Okay.
Today's the Truth Network on this show.
I like this.
How come Nico Mikkola is not playing for the New York Rangers, but he's playing for the Florida Panthers?
Oof. Oof. That's a great question there. I was thinking the same thing last round. I mean, yeah. So we look at it in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to say today, it's May 21st, 3 GMs have to have really big off seasons. And like
Yzerman,
Drury, and Sweeney. Yep.
Right away agree with you.
Crucial.
Could not agree with you more.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. Listen, we're going to get to our sponsors here, and I'll give my pick, and then I'll get your sense. I know you're not going to do picks, but just your sense of what's coming up in this Western Conference final between the Edmonton Oilers and Dallas Stars. Well, let me tell you about the TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting, TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And, of course, our wonderful gambling sponsors, Betway, where if you join right now, they have a great special still running. You can get up to $200 credit if your first bet loses. So go right there if you're watching to the QR code in front of you, or if you're listening, go to the details section in the website and create your new account to redeem the welcome offer. This offer is not available in Ontario. It is terms and restrictions apply. You must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly. Let's go to my sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right, Pierre, I'm feeling a great one. I like I said, I feel like this series is going 7 games, and I think we're going to get a taste of that here in the opening game in game 1 in Dallas. I'm going with the draw. I'm feeling some extra time tonight, so get your coffee ready, Pierre. I know you got post-game going, post-game with CBS tonight.
I haven't heard yet about tonight.
Okay.
I've been doing it most of the time.
Know if you do. And I will pump that up. But regardless, get the coffee flowing. We're going to OT in Dallas. And that's what I'm feeling there. And I also got a little prop for you. We referenced him earlier. You brought him up, and Nick was singing his praises there, and rightfully so. And that's Thomas Harley. I like him to stay hot and get a goal. You can still get that, even though he's been in fuego. You can get that at plus 600 value. I think that's a great.
How did you make out last night?
I did not make out well. So maybe bet the opposite of everything I'm saying right now. But
no, I'm just curious because I don't remember. I had so many shows yesterday.
I took Carolina money line. Obviously, that's been hit.
No.
And who did I take in the goal prop? Geez, I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, Carrier. For him to get off the Schneid there. He did not get off it yet. He's due.
His line wasn't the problem. Martina, Carrier, and Stahl played well.
They did.
They did. They played well. Those guys
Top
weren't the
6.
problem.
Yep. It's a top 6 there.
They
So
weren't.
look at this series, Pierre. You don't have to give me a prediction, but do you feel it could go deep? You feel like we got a good one up ahead?
I'm more bullish on Dallas.
Me too.
I'm really worried about Skinner in goal. I hope he proves me wrong, but I'm really worried about him. I don't know what Calvin Pickard's situation is. Heiskanen didn't have a hard time getting back into the flow of the games because he's such an elite skater. I'm not sure it's going to be the same thing for Matthias Ekholm. I think that Edmonton defense is going to have a hard time against Dallas.
Yeah.
So Dallas better get a split. Or sorry, Edmonton better get a split in Dallas.
Yep.
Because if they don't, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I look behind the bench too. I just think it's time. It feels like it's time for Pete DeBoer.
Just like last year was time for Paul Maurice.
Yep.
And what's interesting is those guys are best friends.
And they could face each other.
You know, people forget DeBoer was Paul Maurice's assistant in junior.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So those guys are buddies.
Yep.
You know, I know John Cooper's an attorney. Maurice is not. But I also know that Pete DeBoer went to law school and is an attorney. I think there are only 2 in the league. The late Pat Quinn, who you heard Nick reference, he was an attorney. He went to law school when he was done. And George McPhee out in Vegas, who never coached in the league but has been an assistant GM and a GM. George is an attorney as well. Those are the ones that I know of that are hockey guys that are attorneys.
Yep. Speaking of attorneys, I'll give him a shout out because he's always texting me. He's a big fan of the podcast. Our good friend Eric Open. I know he's excited for Dallas, a big Pete DeBoer fan.
Oh, he's tight with Spot and DeBoer. He's tight with those guys.
He's looking forward to
with both of those guys.
Enjoy the season, Eric.
Yeah, no, Eric's good. He does a lot of good work. Did a amazing job at Avon Old Farms the other day celebrating the career of John Gardner. John Gardner, amazing coach for a long time at Avon Old Farms. Winningest coach in prep school history in New England, past Kenny Martin from Belmont Hill. It's a heck of an accomplishment. I'm glad you're bringing up sponsors, though. We don't give this guy enough love. What about our buddy Johnny Caron?
Oh, my gosh.
What about Johnny?
You like those pictures we sent the other day? That's right.
I'm glad you sent it to me. What about Johnny? Give him a little love on there.
Finally checked out Reggae Brunch on Sundays there at West End Johnny's. I highly suggest it. The band was great. The hospitality was amazing as always. The food is delicious. And we had a good time catching up here. He says
these were amazing. Your pictures with Johnny were good.
Yeah, he wants you to get back up here. We're gonna head up to the beach house. So
I'll be at a wedding in 10 days.
All right, we're gonna try and squeeze something in. We'll see what we can do.
We'll get there on Thursday, so maybe I'll sneak down and see you guys Thursday.
It sounds like a plan, but it was good.
I'm not getting married, by the way, just so you know.
What's that?
I'm not getting married.
Oh, yes, I know.
I already did that.
You already have an amazing wife, Melanie. We know that.
I already did that.
But I want to say too, for Red Sox fans or any baseball fans, if you make the trip to the Mecca that is Fenway Park, definitely go to Fenway Johnny's over there. That's
100%.
That's the other one that he owns, and it's a great place there, great atmosphere. So
awesome.
Check that out, Johnny. It was great seeing you, and of course, we'll send some love up to our friend Stu Ashton in Montreal.
What a job they've done.
Yeah, you know what, Pierre?
Getting ready for the F1 coming in. Buckle up. Stu, buckle up.
You know how great he is. So the other day, I get a call. He's another longtime viewer with the eye tests. Our good friend Andrew McGinnis, great handicapper based in Halifax, and he says he texts me, said, "Jimmy, I'm heading to Montreal for a bachelor party. Got a big crew. I want to know where we can go. Can you help me out? I know you know a lot of people." And I immediately got in touch with Stu. He set him up. They had a table. They had a great time. So. Thanks to Stu for that.
Hard not to have a good time in McLean's Public House. Hard not to have a good time.
Notes there again, Pierre. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I never had a bad visit there. I know that. It's always good.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, Pierre, always a pleasure, my friend. Want to thank Yellow and Sammy for helping us on the production board there and enabling us to do that interview with Nick.
Yep.
Thanks to you, the listeners and viewers. Enjoy the Western Conference Final, Game 1. Edmonton Oilers and Dallas starts tonight.
We have tomorrow. Are we regular time tomorrow?
We are back at our regular time tomorrow. No, excuse me, Pierre. No, we're 3 because you said you need 3, right?
Yep.
That's right. We are
Just
3
checking.
p.m. Yep. Good catch by you. 3 p.m. tomorrow, and we've got a great guest to recap Game 1. Our good friend Jack Michaels, who does a great job doing play-by-play for the Edmonton Oilers. He's now on radio. He was doing TV the first 2 rounds. They got him over on the radio now, so check him out tonight if you need a good feed to listen to that game. He will recap Game 1 and look ahead to the other games as well. Jack Michaels here in the Eye Test tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the hockey. This has been another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.